It was at the World Championships, 1991 in Tokyo. The squad of 6 athletes, myself, Akabusi, John Regis, Adi Mafi, Mark Richardson and Roger Black. Simple goal was to go out there and win a gold medal in the men's 4x400 metres relay event. Hadn't been done for 67 years by any other team apart from the Americans, so it was a pretty big and bold statement, and it was a pretty tough goal to try and achieve. We were expected to finish in second place, which was right. We were the second fastest team in the world. We had the second fastest time in history. We were the reigning world silver medalists in the same event. The Americans were the favourites. They had the world record and they had the fastest team in the world. So it didn't really take a genius to kind of work out what the seedings were going to be. But the Americans were the favourites. They had about a 3-second advantage over us. It gave them a 27-metre advantage, which at world level is absolutely massive. That is a huge margin, and that was the sort of distances in the previous years that the Americans would either win a world championship or an Olympic Games by 20, 30, sometimes even 40 metres. So it was a massive sort of ask and task from our point of view. When you compete at world and Olympic level, there is a standard format that you do for a relay team, and to be honest, it's not much different from when you ran at school. Put your fastest man last, your second fastest man first, and the other two you just literally chuck them in the middle. So that was the coach's sort of strategy for the team. Going on our individual events and our performances in our own individual events, because obviously we're made up of 6 athletes that are spread across 3 events. So you've got myself, Roger, Adi Mafi and Mark Richardson, who are 400 metre runners. John Regis is a 200 metre runner, and Akabusi is a 400 metre hurdler. So going on those events that we did in the individual, it turned out that Roger was now the fastest man in the country because he beat me in the individual at 400. So he was going last, I was going first, and Chris and John were going in the middle. So that was the strategy that, if you like, was put forward for us by our coaching staff. A lot changed, and again it goes back to people's individual performances in their individual events. Chris had the biggest change. Chris was expected to finish 7th in the 400 metre hurdles. He won a bronze medal. You would have thought he would have been happy with that, but he wasn't, because he didn't run the race the way that he should have done. So he came to a realisation that he was in the best shape of his life. Called us all together, explained the situation and said there's only one place for him to run, and that was on the last leg. Chris's approach was typical Akabusi, really. John and I were sharing a room. They'd obviously been having a conversation in their own room to work out what was on Chris's mind, and he obviously ran it by Roger. Knocked on the door, came to our room, and Roger just said, listen, we need to have a chat. Chris, tell him what you told me. And then Chris just went into it the only way Chris can. 100 mile an hour, spitting everywhere as he talks, full of enthusiasm. And he just said, look, I know I'm in the shape of my life. Put me in the last leg. Give me a 10-metre lead or 10-metre disadvantage, and I will bring us that gold medal. So he was very sure, very adamant, and there was no doubt, not only in his mind, but by the time he had spoken to us, there was no doubt in our minds that the place for Chris was to put him on the last leg. And again, through conversation, we thought the best place for Roger would be on the first leg, me on the second leg, and John Regis on the third leg. So we decided that the plan now was to give the baton to Chris with no more than a 5-metre disadvantage. That was the whole plan. By the time we'd come to this conclusion, it's maybe 11 o'clock in the evening. The race is the following day at 8 p.m, so 11 o'clock, here we are, all 6 of us now, because we've even spoken to the 2 reserves. So the next job was, once we'd all agreed, and it didn't take much for us to agree, we all thought alike, we all had the same outcome in our mind, we all wanted a gold medal, so that was the easy part. The next part was then to convince the coaching staff that we want to change our order, and we'd like to have our order changed. The team manager was brilliant. He said, look, if that's what you think is going to take to win a gold medal, I've got no objections. That's fine by me. But our team coach wasn't quite as sure. He wanted to stick to the usual format. And we just said, look, on this occasion, it's not going to work. It will work if you're happy for us to win a silver medal. You might be happy for us to win a silver medal, but we're not happy to win yet another silver medal, we got a chance of winning a gold. And the nice thing from our point of view, we also felt that we had nothing to lose, because even if it went wrong, we were going to win a silver anyway. So we were the ones taking the risk because we didn't want a silver medal. We only wanted a gold medal. The night before the race, there was only 8 people that were aware of our order change, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to kind of keep it a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock, just for another little bit of psychological warfare against the opposition. You've got to warm up and prepare for the race. The race was at 8 p.m, with the final event after us is literally the closing ceremony of the World Championships. So you've got to be warmed up and ready to race by 7 p.m. There's a separate track, a warm-up track, which we go down to. So we go down to the warm-up track, we do our warm-up, the 2 reserves warm-up as well, just in case one of us picks up an injury. Just before the announcement at 7 o'clock, asking all the relay teams to report. Our coach sort of just checks that myself, Chris and John and Roger are all okay, no injuries, all that sort of stuff. The reserves can sort of stand down, their job's been done. We go and report for our race, and it's in a small, in this case it was a marquee. So once you hear that call and you've got to go and report, that's it. The shape you're in at 7 o'clock is pretty much the shape you're going to be in at 8 o'clock. So the physical side doesn't change, but the mental side does. And you know, at 7 o'clock you can be mentally in shape, as I refer to it. So basically what I mean by that is you can be focused, you know exactly what you've got to be doing in your head, you're set and you're ready to go. And athletes will get themselves into that situation in their own way. Some people with music, some people with shouting, whatever the case may be. But at 7 o'clock you might be where you want to be, but you've still got an hour to go. So by 8 o'clock you can kind of lose that focus and lose that concentration. Or if you haven't got that edge at 7 o'clock, by 8 o'clock you can have it. So one of the things that I tend to say to people is, you know, an hour to go before a race, it's not a physical thing, it's 100% a mental situation. And that's sometimes where the races can be won and lost, in that hour leading up to a race. And you basically then just sat in a room staring at the guys you're going to be competing against in half an hour's time. And I've described it as the last place on earth that you want to be half an hour before a final. But on the other side, it's the only place on earth you want to be half an hour before a major final. Because if you're not in that room, you're not in the final. So it's a bit of a strange place. Races can be won and lost in that scenario, sort of from a mental point of view. There's a lot of psyching out that goes on. We're finally let out onto the track. The guys who are running the first leg, so in our case, Roger is setting up his starting blocks. And that's the first indication that Britain have changed their order, because everyone was expecting me to put the starting blocks down, but in fact Roger did it. All that's going through their mind, okay, well if he's going first, who's going second, third and fourth? And because Roger was the fastest person in the team, I think one of the messages that it sent out was the rest of the world thought that we were gambling on playing our joker first. In other words, Roger running first, giving us a massive lead, and then they won't be able to catch us.
The stadium quietens. The athletes walk forward and settle on their blocks. The World Championship final of the 4x400 meters relay. The wind freshening as they get away, and Roger Black in lane number 3 goes straight away, closes right down on the Jamaican. The American Valmont has started fast as well. Into the back straight though, it's Black at this stage who's cut right back on the Jamaican Pat O'Connor. Also going well is Valmont of America, and right on the outside, Kater of Kenya. The first leg run in lanes and the first bend of the second leg, and then they can break. It's a stagger and winds, we'll begin to see how they sort it out. But the important point is the breaking point on the second leg at the beginning of the back straight. Black has done a good one, but so too has Valmont. But Black on the inside is closing him down all the time. And the handoff point, well, it's very close between America and Great Britain, but I think Great Britain have just got the edge. Derek Redmond now, the UK record holder from Birchfield on the second leg. Quincy Watts going for America. Black 44.6 on the first leg, that's some run. And Britain got the lead they wanted. They've now got to start increasing it, because they've got to give Akabusi a healthy start on the anchor leg. Derek Redmond being chased by the teenage Quincy Watts and caught by the American. But has Redmond saved something? Battling down the straight. It's a brilliant leg by the American youngster. Quincy Watts has got America right back in, and has the British gamble failed? John Reid is on the third leg, and he's chasing Danny Everett. The time for Redmond, 44-1, so Watts run a stormer. John Regis, inexperienced at this distance, right behind the World Championship bronze medalist. Everett. When will Regis attack? Has he got the ability to attack? A seasoned 400-meter runner. Regis comparatively inexperienced. And Everett stretching slightly away. Regis comes wide to have a go. And Regis can't quite get there. America will take over in the lead with their world champion Pettigrew on the anchor leg. Akabusi goes after him. The difference is 3 meters. Now Akabusi has got to sit there and wait and make a late attack if he can. But he's up against the man who is the world champion. The race between the two of them, and the leg by Regis, 44.3. And still Akabusi waits. Pettigrew with goal behind him in the individual event. Akabusi, bronze in the 400 hurdles. Here he goes. This is an important point. Can Akabusi do it? Akabusi has a go, and the American is beaten. And he's fighting back. Akabusi has made it. Akabusi, gold for Britain. America second, and Jamaica third.
When I look at it now, I kind of look at that race in a slightly different way, and the results. And it was, and has been, the most common question over the years. How on earth did you guys win? You should have lost by at least 27 metres. You were 3 seconds slower than the guys, and you beat them. And I always used to say, it's great teamwork, really good teamwork. And now I have a much better understanding of the Thomas tools. I can now see how that result came about. It's really interesting to see, looking at things like the emotional intelligence and seeing all the different facets. I can now pick out bits and pieces from all of us, not just the guys. And if I look at myself, if I look at my own sort of emotional intelligence and some of the areas, the ability to, as I say, to recognise things in other athletes. So we could see something in John, for argument's sake. We knew that this guy was ready to rock and roll. So he had 2 finals on the final day, and he came to us on a bit of a low from messing up the 4x1, not him personally, but the team not performing the way they wanted to. And, there was talk from the coaches saying, do you think we should put John in because of what's just happening now? And we said, what are you talking about? John's going to be fine. And we knew John had the ability, if you like, to control his anger, to control his nerves, to control his feelings, and bring what he needed to bring to the relay race, to the 4x400. And you look at stress management and being able to control your stress management. John could do that, did that brilliantly. We all did, we all could. And it was all these things that I look at now and I think, do you know what, this wasn't just down to luck and picking the right order. It was actually having the right guys as well as putting them in the right order. So there was that adaptability in the team, being prepared not only to do something slightly different, to do something completely different. And you know what? It didn't faze us. We sort of had that ability to just make that decision, work out that it was going to be the right thing for us, and go for it. I think earlier on, low impulse control was mentioned, and again, and you've got to be like that as an athlete. There are so many things that can change within a race. The way other athletes run, sometimes that might dictate a little bit in the way that you run, and especially with the relay. Because although we knew the Americans were the number ones and the ones to watch, if the Jamaicans all of a sudden had gone past and done something different, we would have had to have reacted to them and what else goes on in the race. So there's a lot going on, and there's lots of decisions that need to be made very, very quickly. We had the utmost belief and faith in each other. More importantly, we had the utmost belief and faith in ourselves, and that used to show to the rest of the squad. So when Chris came in the night before and said, put me on the last leg, I will bring us a gold medal, there was no question in my mind he would do it if we can put him where he said. The problem wasn't Chris bringing us a gold medal, in my eyes, it was us putting Chris where he wanted. And that was, to me, because Chris had told us what he's going to do, and there was no other reason to think that he wasn't going to deliver on that. And that isn't something that you can just get just like that. That's years of working and training with each other, years of competing with each other, knowing that person, understanding them, knowing his personality basically, and having a real understanding of him and the rest of the guys. And we had that in abundance. So I do see a lot of the traits that are recognised within the Thomas tools in the guys in the relay team. It stands out like a sore thumb. And it's crazy that it's taken me, as I say, this many years to work that out.